Week 10, Set 2, SWYK number 1. We are ready to roll. The quadratic formula, I want you to kind of do it in two parts. I want you to do the what we call the discriminant, which is this thing right here, b squared over 4a. Maybe I should zoom in on it. Yeah, there we go. And then I'll drag my face over more towards the middle. Wish I'd have thought of that a long time ago. Find the discriminant. Okay, b squared minus 4ac. All right, this is actually the part underneath the radical in the quadratic formula. I want you to find it first. I want you to do it separately. There's a reason why I want you to do it separately, and part of that reason comes into something we're going to do next week. But it really will help you if you know what the discriminant is, especially if it's 0, positive, or negative. In this particular case, we had a b value of -8, an a value of 1, and a c value of positive 12. When we did that, b squared minus 4 times a times c, we ended up with 64 minus 48, none other than 16, right? 16. So, piece of cake, got ourselves 16. Now the rest of the quadratic formula. So, first part, opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, well, then your b value, or the discriminant, you just drop it in from the first part. You don't have to recalculate it. You already know what it is. And then on the bottom, 2 times whatever your a value is. So we had the opposite of -8. Yes, that is positive 8. I better move it over. Nope. Clear, slide. Opposite of -8 is positive 8 over 2. And there's a reason I split it up, because it's some of you need to be familiar with that and see that splitting it up kind of idea. Otherwise, you don't understand what's really going on, and you think you can reduce when you can't reduce, or you reduce incorrectly. The square root of 16 is just 4, so that's 4 over 2, right? And so we can now figure this out. 8 plus 4 is 12 over 2, which gives me 6. And 8 minus 4 is positive 4 over 2, which is 2. So my two answers to the question are 6 and 2. 6 and 2. Okay. That's it. That's that question right there. And that's the quadratic formula. It really comes from the whole idea of completing the square. It's a shortcut. I remember the day they first taught me the quadratic formula. I was angry, right? They made me factor. And then they made me complete the square. And then somebody went, oh, hey, by the way, there is the completing the square has a shortcut that you can figure out algebraically. It's called the quadratic formula. And you can go straight to the answer, and you don't have to do any of that. And I was so mad. I was like, are you kidding me? But I will tell you this. You need to understand the other processes, because sometimes factoring is way faster than the quadratic formula if you know what you're doing. In fact, this particular question would be way faster with factoring if you thought about it. Maybe you should think about it. Okay, so the discriminant b squared minus 4ac. b squared minus 4 times a times c. That's 49. Take away 40 is 9. Okay, then I can figure out the rest of it. The opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of the discriminant all over 2 times a. That's -7 plus or minus 3 all over 2. So -7 plus 3, that'd be -4. And over 2 gives me -2. And -7 minus 3 gives me -10. Over 2 gives me -5. So my two answers are -2 and -5. Quadratic formula, not that bad. Okay, next. Let's see here. First thing I did, in order to use the quadratic formula, and I should have backed up and said this a while ago, it's got to be equal to 0. The first two questions just were equal to 0, so I didn't have to worry about that. But you can't use the quadratic formula if you don't have it set equal to 0. You listen to me on this one. Okay? as you should in every question. All right, so b squared, that's negative 13, quantity squared, minus 4 times a times c. Ooh, that's ugliness. So we got 169 plus 56, which is 225. Okay, so obviously that's going under the radical. So the opposite of b, plus or minus 225, radical 225, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. So that's 13 over 4, plus or minus. The square root of 225 is 15, so that's a nice number. 13 plus 15 gives me 28, and then over 4 gives me 7. And 13 minus 15 gives me negative 2 over 4, which gives me negative 1/2. So 7 and negative 1/2 are the answers to your question. Now, keep in mind what you're doing is you are looking for the place. So you are looking for an x-intercept. You got an x-intercept there and an x-intercept there. We do have a parabola which is opening up, but it's hitting the x-axis, and it's going through at negative 1/2, which I missed, and positive 7. Those are the two places where it hits the x-axis. So visualize that also as we're doing these questions. Dun, 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 dun. Moving on up. Question 14, more practice on, or 14. So we moved the 8 over, and then we started the process. B squared minus 4 times A times C. That gave me 484. Now 484. That is, that is a perfect square, isn't it? The perfect square of a square root of 484 is 22, right? And 18 plus or minus 22. So 18 plus 22 is 40. And 18 minus 22 is negative 4. So 40 over 10 gives me 4. And negative 4 over 10 gives me negative 2/5. So those are your two answers to this question. It's nice when those radicals, those are perfect squares. We'll have to find some that aren't. Pause for a second. Oh, snap. I just realized that was the last question of this SWYK. Get busy on those problems. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you on the next video.